So first thing, since we didn't get to break this down since it happened last weekend, I mean, this is one of the most
The
uh,
Phoenix Suns Dallas Mavericks game, well, the series, but also Game 7.
Game 7 in particular, because this is one of the most just decisive blowouts. Like I can't remember a team that we thought was going to be this good, that was supposed to be this good, just crashing and burning like they did.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, it was like, first of all, just from a fan's perspective, and not that I'm a fan of the Suns, but just from a entertainment perspective, it's Game 7. You turn it on, you're like, all right, I'm expecting. Hopefully, we can get some drama. It may not be like the best Game 7 I've ever seen, but hopefully there'll be at least some kind of drama. And there was none. None. I mean, it was over within like 5 minutes, and I'm watching it going, all right, they're going to make a run, right? And everybody's thinking they're going to make a run, and it never happened. And they
Right.
just looked, and it wasn't just, and like after the game, Chris Paul and Devin Booker were like, oh, well, we missed shots. Unfortunately, it happened in Game 7. You guys didn't just miss shots. You looked like totally out of sorts. Like you were not motivated to be there. You didn't know what the hell you were doing. You had no answers for what the defense that Dallas was playing. I mean, yeah, one of the weirdest results in a NBA playoff series I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah, it was I was really looking forward to the game because I wanted to see if Luka could pull it off, and he came out rolling. And okay, I was like, all right, this is going to be interesting. And then when it got to, I think it was like 14 or 16 point lead, and I was sitting there thinking, you know what? If Dallas really goes after it here, they could end this game. And I was getting annoyed because Dallas was making mistakes and turning the ball over. There was like a 2 or 3 minute stretch there where they were kind of struggling and not really scoring. And I was
Because
like,
at one point it was like 29-20
right.
or 29-22, and I'm thinking, okay, Phoenix is going to get their footing here, and they're going to come back and they're going to make this a game, and then they never did.
Yeah, and then it was like, all right, is Dallas gonna just slam the door right here in the first half? I was like, and I was upset because I thought they were gonna screw it up. And then Luka hit that last three before halftime, and it was just like, this is over.
Yep.
You were texting me like, this is over, it's done. And I was thinking, all right,
Yep.
they can really, if they get a nice lead here, they can really give themselves a chance. But they just, literally completely
I
fell
don't know.
apart.
Like we've talked about Chris Paul in the past, and like it seems like he gets worn down over the course of the playoffs, and he gets worn down over the course of the season. And I guess we kind of thought, hey, maybe it's a blessing in disguise. He had that injury late in the season, so he's gonna be,
Fresh.
he'll be rested and he won't wear down as much. But I mean, basically, after Game 2 of the Dallas series, he played like shit. He was
Yeah.
terrible. I mean, and we kept thinking like he had like one bad game. We're like, all right, he'll have another. Game 4 will be better. Nope. Game 5 he'll be better. No. Game 6, nope. Then we get to Game 7. It's like, well, he's got to be better in It's Game 7, and I don't. It's probably going to come out that he had some sort of injury that he was dealing with, or he was just worn down because he's a smaller player and he's in year 17 of his career. So, yeah, now the thing is, they were favored to win the championship, and they were
Right.
obviously a really good team, and they had definitely a lot of good pieces to be a championship team. But as you start kind of looking at it, they played a very, very traditional style. And basically, Dallas just sort of over the course of a series, they're a pretty good defensive team. They're going to kind of figure it out, And I think the concern now with Dallas against Golden State is Golden State plays differently than everybody else. So is Dallas going to be able to figure this out quickly enough to have a shot to win the series? But Phoenix, yeah, it's very traditional, and also it's Devin Booker creates his own shot, but he does work off a lot of screens and stuff. And Chris Paul, you need him to be a scorer in addition to facilitating the offense. And if he's not facilitating the offense, then you're kind of screwed because they don't have anybody else.
Yeah.
They have other talent, but it's just not.
Yeah, I was during that game, it was just such a weird game to watch because it's just like, are they going to show up at all? They were just missing shots, doing uncharacteristic things, and not doing anything to really, contain Dallas. And once Luka came out and was like, "All right, guys, we're doing this," they kind of laid down, and it's it's really disturbing. And I try not to jump to conclusions, but our podcast is called "Don't Be Ridiculous," but I think Phoenix's window is over. I think it's done.
Well, and that's, to be honest, and the way the NBA is now, that's not ridiculous. I mean, everybody thinks that the title window is going to last longer than it does, but it's if you get some breaks along the way, then it can. But I mean, look, after like 2 or 3 years, it's usually that's it, because guys get older or you lose players or other teams catch up to you. Like that's usually the way it goes. And they basically had last year and this year. And Chris Paul's not going to get, he's not going to magically get younger. He's just going to get older and more worn down. And the way their roster is, like, I don't know what you're going to, could Devin Booker improve? Sure. But, is it going to be enough? Is he going to turn into a facilitator in addition to a scorer? Like, I don't really know. And, Phoenix, this is why people were arguing some people argue that Chris Paul should have been MVP last year, because without Chris Paul being an elite player on their team, they're not the same team.
Right.
Like they're not, DeAndre Ayton, he's a nice player. Every now and then he has a really big game, but it's not like you're going to throw it to him 30 times in the post and he's going to back people down and score a bunch of points all the time. He scores within the flow of the offense. So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's not that it was bad that they were favored to win the championship. I mean, I get it, but yeah, it was funny because people were like, well, New Orleans is a really bad matchup for them. And then I started hearing the same thing about Dallas during that series. And I'm like, well, how is it that both of these teams are a really bad matchup for Phoenix? Does Phoenix have some fatal flaws here that are just going to be exploited?
Well, you could wipe some of that away in the first series because, well, Booker was out, right? So you could use that as a reason why they struggled. So that's why we really couldn't see this coming. But this is the thing that I was worried about the whole season was, can Chris Paul make it through the 2 months of playoffs? It's 8 weeks of playing almost every other day.
I think this is a theory. I think he emptied the tank to beat New Orleans. Yeah. I think because if you look at those games he had against New Orleans, he was awesome. I think he emptied the tank. I think that was it.
Yeah, and then
because in Dallas he just completely wore down.
Yeah, and if you go back to last year's playoffs, that's what happened. He basically got worn out. He had that great game against the Clippers to close them out. And then, he had, they went up 2-0 on Milwaukee, but, and then after that, it was like he slowly just fell apart as it went along. And, so yeah, it makes you look back at the whole thing. Well, how good is Phoenix, right? We were saying all of last season.
Well, and the thing is, yeah, if you look at the playoffs last year, look at the different things that happened. They were down 2-1 to the Lakers, right?
Right.
And then Anthony Davis goes down. They come back. They blow through that series. Chris Paul was playing through an injury in that series, right? They played Denver, and Denver was banged up. I mean, just like this year. Last year they were banged up too. So they swept them, right? And Chris Paul had a really good closeout game against them. Then he misses 2 games against the Clippers, and the Clippers are without Kawhi Leonard. Well, another break that they got was Denver. Jamal Murray was hurt, when Phoenix played them last year. So then they get to the Clippers series. Kawhi Leonard's out. Chris Paul's out the first 2 games. And then remember that game 2 in Phoenix, all that weird stuff that happened at the end? I mean, the Clippers should have won that game, but they didn't. They lose. They're down 2-0. Then Chris Paul comes back because of the COVID protocols. And, they were able to close them out. But it's just like a lot of stuff happened that kind of broke their way that did not break their way this year. So, no offense to them. I'm not discrediting them for getting to the finals last year. They did that, but, there were obviously things that broke their way last year.
Yeah, so it's just, and so I don't know where you go from here. I've heard everything so far, every blame, whatever. Well, let's let DeAndre Ayton go. Well, you have to re-sign him. I've heard get rid of Chris Paul, and so
I don't know how you're getting rid of Chris Paul's contract.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know what I'm not sure what their move is. You know, your best, your really your best option is to give. I mean, the thing is with DeAndre Ayton, like the people are missing is like it's not like oh they keep him or they don't. If they want to keep him, he can't leave because he's a restricted free agent. So if it's really what they don't have to do anything. They could just let this play out. If he signs an offer sheet with a team, they can just match it if they want to keep him. So it's really not that hard. You know, it's not that hard of a decision. It's just, you know, and it's like, all right, well, I'm going to give DeAndre Ayton all this money. He's my third best player. Maybe.
Well, again, with these kind of situations, it's like, what's the alternative if you get rid of him?
Right.
And it's kind of, you get kind of boxed in. And it's like, you know, well, what are our other options? It's not as simple as Colin Cowherd would make you believe, where he just goes, well, we'll just move off this player. Okay, sure. You know, yeah. So yeah, I mean, they've signed Chris Paul to, I forget how long is he under contract with them?
He's got it's 3 years, but the last year isn't guaranteed. So they can get out of the last year.
So 2 more years, because he was out of his contract at the end of the offseason, so he signed a new one. Okay. I mean, and people have said that owner's kind of cheap. We'll see what that means. But I mean, they've been good, they've been competitive, you know. Like they were a mess before, so if you keep the team together, you'll make the playoffs again, you know. And maybe you get some breaks next time, and you're able to, you know, I don't know. Devin Booker gets better. Like, I think you kind of just roll the dice with it. I mean, what are your other options? You know?
Yeah. I agree with the same thing. This isn't like, oh, geez, got to blow the whole thing up. I really don't see them doing that. Maybe they don't re-sign Ayton. I don't know, but you know, the team is still going to be good. And, you know, it just, it's one of those things. It's like when you see it, the playoffs really, this is why the playoffs are great, because they reveal everything. They show you exactly who you are, what you're capable of and what you're not capable of. And it's just like, you know, you're just going to roll this back. It's kind of hard to believe that, you know, they're going to get a shot this good, especially when you look at the Western Conference. It's going to be stacked next year.
New Orleans, if they get Zion Williamson back, is really good.
Right. New Orleans is going to be good even without him. The Clippers are going to get Kawhi back. Denver's getting Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. back, probably. At least, you know, they're getting Murray back for sure. And, you know, these teams aren't going anywhere. So I don't know. It's really a disaster for Phoenix.
All right. The last 2 years they had two really good opportunities to win the championship, and they couldn't get it done. So that's kind of the way